EULAs, or the what was proposed alternative to EULAs for Greater Manchester,
Yeah,
uh,
the clean air zone.
clean air zone. Um, that that is now gone for now.
It's
For now,
yeah,
at
yeah, gone
least.
for now. Yeah,
Um, could you tell me what happened there?
yeah. So about 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, nearly a decade ago, um, the government was forced into looking at clean air zones across the country because a charity called Client Earth took the government to court and won their court case by showing that the government, Tory government, was not living up to EU directives. Even though at that point, I think we'd just left the European, well, we just had the referendum then, but we were still in the EU. So the government said, right, we need to do something about that. So they then looked across the country, found some areas that a little bit of pollution was going above and beyond the EU directive. So created then clean air zones and said to local mayors in those areas, you need to get your pollution down. That was a directive from government. That's all they said was you need to get your pollution down in these areas. They didn't tell them how to do it. That's up to you. We're going to give you some money, but you need to reduce it. The first thing is, why are we following EU directives? We're not in the EU anymore now. We can ignore them. But let's say we want to get cleaner air, which nothing wrong with cleaner air. The Mayor of Greater Manchester, Andy Burnham, looked at the data, which was about Greater Manchester is 10 local authority areas. Only seven or eight of them failed the air quality, and they only failed in 1 or 2 spots. And those spots were trunk roads going into the city centre. So that's all he had to address was some trunk roads.
Mhm.
He didn't. He then got 2 other councils who had clean air to sign up to the scheme. And he said, we're going to roll out a clean air that covers the whole of Greater Manchester. There's parts of Greater Manchester which is countryside, sheep, cows, fields, and it covers the whole of Greater Manchester. He then said, and we're going to charge commercial vehicles to drive in Greater Manchester if their engines don't hit a certain level, which is basically anything that's not a brand new vehicle. And no one had heard about it. He did a consultation during COVID. On just under 5,000 people were engaged in the consultation, and most of them were from organisations like Cycling for Britain, and it was basically a setup.
Right.
The signs went up after he'd won his second election across Greater Manchester saying this is coming, and everybody went, "What's a clean air zone?" People Googled it and went, "You're going to charge vehicles for driving? Our prices in shops are going to go up." And then he lost his bottle and he suspended it, sent it back to government, and a couple of weeks ago he announced he's not going to implement it while he's mayor. Now,
Right.
very clever words that. All the infrastructure is there waiting to go. He spent 200-300 million on this. All the cameras are there. Contracts have been signed now for 2 years. It's costing so many 100,000 a year for maintenance of cameras that have never been used. And he said, we're not going to implement it while I'm mayor. All the rumours at the moment is he won't be mayor next year. He's going to jump ship, go to Parliament. He wants to be an MP and he wants to be Prime Minister when Labour take over. So the mayor who comes after him, if they're a Labour mayor, can flick the switch and you can have a clean air zone the day after tomorrow. So the fight's not over. All the infrastructure's there. And that's what, if I'm elected, that's what I'll be doing. I'll be removing all the infrastructure because whoever comes after me can flick a switch and we'll have 15-minute cities. We'll have driving your car being charged per mile. We'll have a clean air zone. We'll have ULEZ. And I'm not willing to leave all that infrastructure in place. That's why it needs to go.
Although, if he's sitting in Westminster, we'll be getting close to that on a national basis anyway.
Exactly. That's why if he jumps and I'm elected, that's why those cameras need to go ASAP before a Labour government. And we've already had what's her name? She's deputy leader of the Labour Party, deputy prime minister. I forgot her name now. She's from Tameside, an MP for Tameside in Greater Manchester, and she's already been on TV. The clips are out there. She was on the BBC saying clean air zones and ULEZs will be coming to every town and city
Right.
because it's the future. So
Yeah.
they've already told us what they would like. Sometimes we just don't want to listen to them.
It seems like a lot of things go from "don't be silly, that's a conspiracy theory" to "oh, it is happening," and there's not an awful lot in between.
Mm. Yeah.
So it appears that with a lot of these things, there is no there's no canary in the coal mine, because they're silenced and called a conspiracy theorist, and then the next thing you know, we're in the midst of it, and then we're
Yeah.
sort of backpedaling to get out of these situations.
I think many politicians have the theory that the public is stupid. And then sometimes I realise they're probably correct. Because look at what they're getting away with.
Mm.
Look at what they're telling us one day, then doing the next. And I think they've worked out that there's a large part of the population who is stupid, or lazy, or apathetic, or don't care, or even maybe so comfortable that they're not interested. Even the poorest people in this country today are richer than the richest person in this country, 100 years ago.
Mm.
So, and even though we think we've got problems, we've only got first world problems now. So maybe a lot of people are so apathetic because we've never had it this good before.
Mm.
But things can get bad, things can get worse, and things can get worse extremely quickly. And that's what we're trying to avoid.